People, it is the 28th of the 3rd, newspaper breakdown. Welcome, hope we're all fine. 5 stories to get through, as usual. We'll start with shortages to fruit and veg has helped push food inflation to record highs in March. That's according to latest industry data. Annual food inflation reached 15%, up from 14.5% in February, highest since records began in 2005. The biggest rise is in fresh food, with inflation up to 17%. Reasons given were poor harvests in Europe and Africa, which is of course worsening availability. Weakness in sterling, which is further pushing up the cost of imports, and higher energy costs affecting prices of fruit and veg grown out of season. Because if you grow it out of season, they're all in greenhouses. It costs a lot to run a greenhouse. As has been mentioned countless times, higher food inflation affects the poorest households the most, because they spend a higher proportion of their money on food. So, makes sense, doesn't it? An investigation into Rochdale borough-wide housing by the Housing Ombudsman after the death of 2-year-old Awab has found Ishak, I think, yes, has found the social landlord. That found a social landlord claimed refugee tenants were lucky to have a roof over their heads, and that mould was acceptable in their homes. The report found that the RBH tenants were judged by staff members' prejudices, lazy assumptions, and an attitude towards asylum seekers and refugees that is wholly unacceptable. The Ombudsman has urged all social landlords in England to undertake a deep dive into their culture, saying it is highly unlikely that this endemic behaviour of othering is isolated. This is the continual view that we have in this country, that people are lucky just to be able to survive. And it's not just this country, and the idea that it is not only is it not just this country, not only is it just not the West, and not only is it not just white people. This is a human behaviour, a human feeling, where people should be fucking thankful that they are able to have a roof over their head, and how dare they complain. That is a human thought from a culture created over hundreds of years all over the world. That is why you have the rich and the poor, because this concept of false meritocracy drives into believing that you don't work hard enough, you don't deserve it, you deserve nothing but the bare minimum, and you should be grateful that you have that. You should be grateful. It's a terrible view. Previous research has shown that 1 in 3 black people in England that have experienced homelessness have also faced racial discrimination from a landlord. On the Rochdale estate where Awab lived, 80% of the 380 homes had damp and mould, with 12 branded as Category 1 hazards, which means that they may pose a risk to life. This is not just a Rochdale problem, this is a countrywide problem. You've had places near where I live, Tower Hamlets, where people are being housed in places that frankly aren't fit to be destroyed, let alone have people live in them. All of this stuff could have been dealt with at some point if we gave a toss, but we don't. Oh, we may do, but the people in power who actually have the ability. Like this is, 13 years. We're going to continue on with landlords, but we're going to move from the social into the private, the even better people. Landlords, on the private persuasion, they have been given new powers in England and Wales to evict problematic tenants with 2 weeks' notice under new government proposals to address antisocial behaviour. There has been a lot of the government looking at antisocial behaviour. It's the whole tough on crime thing that them and Labour are fighting over to see who's got the biggest swinging dick. All of it is reactionary, none of it is preventative. The measures will cover tenants that play loud music, use drugs, cause damage to the property, or get behind on rent, and will allow now all, and this is for future if you rent yourself, all new tenancy agreements will have to have this clause included. The loud music thing, I'm actually happy about that, but that's just my own personal hatred of when it happens. You've always got. I've lived near people who play music loud, and you want to be allowed to kill them. It's the same people who play loud music on the buses. I want to kill them, and I think you should be allowed that level of rudeness. But all in all, giving more power to landlords never screams great to me. And we'll have a final story about renting, because we've had social renting, we've had the social landlords, they fucked up. Private landlords, they've been given themselves some new powers, which is nice. So let's have a look at a story on the actual renter. Private renters face paying an additional £1 billion in gas and electricity bills because of delays in the introduction of a new standards forcing landlords to make their properties more energy efficient. Don't forget, they're getting new powers to be able to kick people out for antisocial stuff. Government's doing nothing to actually hold private landlords to account. The government has been criticised for dragging its feet on enacting new proposals that would require landlords to improve properties to at least a C rating under the Energy Performance Scheme. Currently, private rents only need to be at an E, which makes energy costs more expensive, of course. If you do not have an energy efficient house, you'll use more energy. It will cost more money. Obvious stuff. More than 2.4 million private renting homes are below C, and the consultation for this particular bill began in 2020, but as thus far there has been no attempt to create legislation. Not doing it now would cost private renters, as I say, £1 billion. It's a lot. Landlords currently have little to no incentive to upgrade the energy efficiency of their homes. Why? Because they're not the ones paying the bills. And that's the truth of it. They can just, if bills get high, they'll just put up the rent. That's it. It's not coming out of their pocket. They're fine. Almost a quarter of homes in private rent officially classed as non-decent, and the same proportion of tenants are living in fuel poverty. But they can get people out quicker now, so isn't that delightful? What a fair and equal society we live in. Aren't we so lucky? 2 more stories. Homeless charities have warned that Sunak's crackdown on begging will punish the poorest in society, which makes sense. Sunak has announced new powers on Monday, including powers for the police to move on beggars causing public distress. Beggars obstructing shop doorways and asking for money near cash points will be targeted as part of Sunak's crackdown on antisocial behaviour. Lots and lots of antisocial behaviour. I mean, just bring back the fucking ASBO. That's what you want to do. It's so reactionary. A new offence will also be created for criminal gangs who are organising beggars, a begging network. Sorry, that's how you say words. See, that bit I'm fine with, but surely there was already a law against that. That wasn't one of the things that got away, was it? The Homeless Charity Crisis said that that it indicated that homeless people could be subjected to police action if they asked for money, food or shelter, and could replace the Vagrancy Act in all but name, which is an act that makes it a crime to sleep on the streets or beg for money in England or Wales. Once again, this is just reactionary. It's not preventative. You're not trying to stop homelessness. You're just trying to keep homelessness away from your eyes. That's it. It's cruel. All of it is cruel. It's just so... There's nothing impressive about anyone currently in government. I'm not looking at any of them and going, well, listen, I don't agree with you, but I respect you're not a fucking idiot. I respect you're not doing what you're doing for cruelty. There's not a single one that I can think of in government that I think is doing this for any other reason than they are either cruel or stupid. No look to improve anything. It's pathetic, really. Finally, we'll go to add on to more of the government's fucking stupidity. The government looks set to remove more safeguards from the illegal immigration bill in an attempt to quell Tory rebels who want a tougher bill. Up to 60 Tory backbenchers want a tougher bill The bill already pledges to deport asylum seekers who arrive in the UK unofficially. It's important to remember at this point that there are no safeguards, there are no safe routes to come into this country for the majority of the world. And so they all come in unofficially. International law also says that if you're a refugee, you can come into this country in any fucking way. You can come on a blimp if you so wished to, if that was the only way you could possibly make it, if your life was in danger. You could get on one of those fucking bouncy ball bollock things with the two dicks on it, and bounce yourself a space hopper, that fucking thing, and you could space hop your way all the way through the fucking Channel Tunnel if that was the only way you could fucking get there. You could get yourself on some special flying shoes and take a lovely little jump across the channel if that was the only way you could get here. There is no law that states that you can only get here via a particular mean that the government tells you. That is a lie, and I'm sick to death of them keep on lying about it. The illegal immigration bill is, of course, going to break international law. We all know this, but it doesn't matter because laws are for other people and not for those in power. MPs to the right of the party want to add amendments to the bill to reduce the legal avenues asylum seekers and refugees have if faced with being deported to Rwanda or elsewhere, with one amendment looking to block judges from granting injunctions to stop deportations, and another seeking to limit the scope of relevant parts of the European Convention on Human Rights. At this point, it should be mentioned that there are some MPs, some Tory MPs, that want the government to set up more safe and legal routes for refugees. So not every single Tory MP gets hard over the concept of refugees drowning, although too many for my liking. I've always had a thought when it comes to those in power, and people as a whole, really. Look at how they treat the people they think they can get away with treating bad, because that's how they want to treat you. The government want to limit human rights. They want to take away any legal actions that refugees can take, and they want to quiet judges and take away their powers. They will do that to the next vulnerable people in this country, and that's the poor people, or the disabled people, or the non-straight white men with six-figure salary people. That's the truth. And they do not want to kill all the poor people, because they would then not have anyone to hunt or to do all of the jobs they themselves do not want to do. That's enough. Bye.